Hi, and welcome to Ask Anslie. I'm Dana Zalowski from the Stokes Group. Each week, we'll be answering our clients' frequently asked questions about buying, selling, and all things real estate. This week, we'll be answering the question, what happens if the appraised value comes in below the contract sales price? When a buyer and seller agree to a price on a contract in writing, we call that price the contract sales price. It represents the amount the buyer is willing to pay for the house and the seller is willing to accept in exchange for selling the house. If a buyer needs a loan to purchase the house, then their lender is going to independently verify that the contract sales price is in line with recent comparable sales by hiring at the buyer's expense an appraiser to independently value the property and produce an appraisal report documenting their opinion on value. The appraiser does receive a copy of the contract, and about 9 times out of 10, we see appraisers value the property right at the sales price, and the contract proceeds forward. The challenge arises when the appraiser values the property below the contract sales price. If the contract has an appraisal contingency included, and the appraisal comes in low, in realtor lingo, then the buyer has 2 options. 1, the buyer can send a notice to the seller saying, "Hey seller, the appraised value came in below the sales price." The seller's first option is to reduce the contract sales price to the appraised price, at which point the contract sales price is amended to equal the appraised value. If the seller doesn't agree, then the 2 parties can negotiate to some compromise between the appraised value and contract sales price. The buyer can proceed forward without regards to the appraised value, or the buyer can void the contract. If the seller fails to respond to the appraisal notice, then the contract becomes void. If the buyer opts to proceed forward without regards to the appraised value, then the lender may adjust how much the buyer is required to put as a down payment, as the lender will base their loan-to-value ratio on the lower of the contract sales price or appraised value. For example, if a buyer was planning to put down $200,000 on a $1 million contract sales price, then their loan-to-value ratio would be 80%. If their property only appraises at $900,000 and the seller won't agree to reduce the price and the buyer still wants to move forward, the buyer's loan-to-value ratio is 88%, which could change the term of the loan from the lender. In this case, the buyer would need to put an additional $80,000 down to retain their 80% loan-to-value loan terms and satisfy the $1 million contract sales price. This is 20% down on $900,000, which is the appraised value, plus the $100,000 difference between the appraised value of $900,000 and the contract sales price of $1 million. As a buyer, seller, or homeowner, you probably have a few more questions and we'd love to answer them. Call us at 202-270-1081, email us at anslie@thestokesgroup.com, and be sure to keep your eye out for our next video.